Mm-mm. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Improperly Packaged, a show where we unbox topics related to movies, TV, games, whatever. I am Jordan. With me is Luke. How are you, Luke?
Hello, sir.
No
Welcome to the show.
need to be so formal, Luke. You can address
What
me
up,
as
dog?
Yeah. Now we're talking. We survived the storm that wasn't too bad in the end for us.
Joke of a storm.
Yeah. It's hard
That
to
is
know.
not what
know?
I paid for. I wanted a real storm.
We signed up for a disaster, and
I do and I don't. I mean, I don't want anybody to get hurt, anybody's
no.
property to get damaged, but it is kind of interesting when there's trees falling and crap to clean up. I bought a chainsaw for a reason, Jordan.
There's like a level of almost disappointment when you prepare, like really prepare for something, and then it's like the disappointment, like a little bit of relief. You're like, well, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with something terrible happening.
Yeah, the electricity out and the AC's out. We're sweating and we have no water.
Yeah, all that.
I've lived that life. It's awful.
But at the same time, you're like, wow, I've exhausted so much thoughts, so many thoughts, and we bought all those water bottles, and all for
we
naught.
did. We have an entire case in there, untouched.
I'm not sure what's gonna happen to those water
Stick them in the refrigerator and slowly drink them.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, we could easily have several more hurricanes. So
oh yeah, we're just getting
far
started.
from out of the woods. But I think it's like November, like the end of the season. It's crazy how big the season, how wide it is. I mean, it's like almost 6 months. So long. Yep. Started last month, I think, right? June, the 6th month. It goes till the 11th month.
We could easily have a podcast down the line where we look back at this one and be like, wow, we were idiots when there's a category 5 rolling its way towards us or something. That's not fun. No, when it's like a really big one, it's like, oh no.
Yeah. Irma was scary.
That was scary.
It didn't end up being too bad. I mean, it caused some issues around here, but
yeah,
it was, I mean, that was intense. And then there was that other one that was supposed to come to us, and then it stalled out in the Bahamas. That's one of the ones I remember like the most frequently. That was just horrible. I'm sure other people saw that on the news. Like, it was stalled out for almost 3 days down there. Just, I mean, that's the culmination of all fears right there when it comes to hurricanes. Have a Cat 5 at like 170 miles an hour parked over your island. I mean, the flooding, the storms are just, it's terrible.
Yeah,
it does for those people so much.
Freaking terrible. Hope that doesn't happen. But
to anyone.
Well, anyways, you didn't know food stories this week, Luke?
I know. I was actually it was goofy, but I was just thinking I was going to start it by saying, so what you been eating/cooking, Jordan?
Eating/cooking. I haven't cooked that much this week.
Yeah.
I think
apparently we've run dry on that topic.
Yeah, this may be exhausted for a little bit. Yeah, I've yet to. My Popeyes is yet to open. This is something. It's really pathetic. I still drive by just to like check it out.
What you've been watching / wishing.
Yeah.
It open.
I look at them training through the window and be like,
yeah, train good. Along.
Should walk in there with my arms like behind my back, like
Very good. Very good. Keep it up.
I don't know if anyone in Gainesville is as enthusiastic about that Popeyes as I am. They should have me. Can I join the ribbon cutting ceremony? Can I be the one with the golden scissors? Shaking hands with the manager.
Those honorary degrees you have. You can be like an honorary employee.
Exactly.
Come in the back and fry yourself up some chicken, whatever you want.
When I give a commencement speech to the construction,
manager gives you a key. Just drop by, grab some biscuits whenever you want, Jordan. No problem.
That'll be amazing. You get a free chicken sandwich every day, Jordan. So just because you
keep
love
an eye
us.
on the place for us.
Here's the keys to it. If you see anything fishy going on, here's a number. Oh man, I'd love it. But anyways, what have you been watching / playing / listening to, Luke? It's your time
So
to
I was
shine.
listening to just one of those like daily lists that like Spotify puts together for you, and they put together a really good one. I hit it, and then I was like, listen, I'm like, oh man, I remember that song. It's like, oh yeah, that's a newer song. Most of them are kind of older songs that you and I know, like growing up. Like, I'll just run through like a few of them, like John Ralston, Brand
Mm-hmm.
New,
Mm-hmm.
Story So Far, I Can Make a Mess, Armor for Sleep. Used to be I Can Make a Mess, like Nobody's Business, but they shortened it.
You're like, wait, we're being
Um,
ridiculous. Let's
yeah,
chill out here.
Bayside, Lydia, The Format, The Main, Acceptance. So just
Yeah,
a lot of
man.
good like bands, and they picked just great songs from the bands, like not like their big hit, but like maybe their like fifth or sixth song that you would know them for. Like
Mm,
Brand New was Okay, I Believe You, but My Tommy Gun Don't. You know, that's like it's not their most famous one, but like I know you and I love that
it's
song.
up there, yeah. As far as like
So
the most beloved.
yeah, definitely. Um, so I was gonna mention the John Ralston song just because that was one that like popped out at me that people may not know it, and just to remind you like to go back and listen to Needlebed in general, just that whole album. But no one
I,
said it was easy. It's just such a good song from that album. So yeah,
I need to do it. Is he still making music? Yeah, I mean, it looks like actually,
I think
yeah,
he is.
he is. He came out with an
A
album
lot
in
of these guys really
2019.
are. It's amazing.
That's one of the crazy things to actually go into Spotify and like search a band that like you're like, what happened to them? Like, holy crap, they've been like an album
He's
every
got an
year.
album this year,
That yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right.
2021. Moon
Wow,
Feathers.
that's crazy.
But yeah, start with the old stuff and then maybe move into the new stuff.
Yeah.
No one said it was easy though. It's a great song.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. I haven't listened to anything too new, but there's a few like singles. That's like kind of the weird thing about now. It's singles is just you're like expecting like this new album, but it's always like a single from
Mhm.
whatever beloved band you have. But there's a couple good ones came out. Churches came out with a really good single called Good Girls. It's a really fun song. It's kind of like a lot of their music is like you hear them and you're like, yeah, classic Churches. Like that's
Mhm.
kind of the deal with Churches. It's there's a comfort in that, you know. Like you feel like some artists like reinvent themselves almost too much, where they become you know, like you guys were the thing I'd go for this kind of music, but you've shifted into something else, and so now I don't know. But
Yeah.
that and also Sufjan Stevens came out with a new EP, 2 songs. He joined up with let's see, what's the guy's name? I don't really know his name, but either way, he joined up with some other artists, came out with the 2 really solid songs that are very, very Sufjan Stevens. He's kind of hard to pin down too, because he'll like do a thing where it's like his main stuff is his acoustic folky kind of stuff, right? But then he has these like kind of synth techno. I don't even want to say techno, like almost like he has like album after album after album of like he just like laid his head down on a pad or something
Mhm.
just for a few hours, and that's the album. I'm not really too into that kind of stuff, but the classic Sufjan Stevens stuff, oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah, I
Reach
saw
Out
those
in
stuff
Olympus.
came out.
What a weird cover
Awesome.
album. But anyways, what have you been watching / playing, Luke?
Oh, you just reminded me I didn't bring this up.
Oh.
So watched a movie and I watched this like I don't know. I guess it just is silly would be the best way to say it, but it's these guys that do like they do these builds, and I don't know if it's mostly like vehicle builds, but they in this case they built the scooter from Dumb and Dumber. And they rode the actual like trip that the guys took from what was it, Nebraska to Aspen, Colorado.
Yeah.
Or in the movie they say California.
This baby gets 30 miles a gallon, or I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on, I'm trying to bring it up so I can call out the guys for their great work. CTXP, Revzilla is the name of the channel. I think it's, this is the only video I've actually watched from these guys, but yeah, they did a great job, and I think it's just these 2 guys that do it. They had a van like following behind them, support van, with all their tools and stuff, which
Yeah.
ended up coming in handy because
it goes
stuff
wrong.
broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, a small thing like that. They did a great job of building it like exactly the same as the movie. They even dress the same as the movie. They even bring the like briefcase just like the movie.
Did he
In the
pee on
beginning
him
of the video,
like in the movie?
they reenact the entire scene where he like drives up and he's like, "What's
Oh
up,
yeah.
man?" Yeah.
Right
Maybe
when I
get
think you
70
can't
miles
do
to a
anything
gallon.
any dumber, you completely redeem yourself.
Yeah. It's just great. And I love these things where they like take things from movies and put them in real life. And this is
Yeah.
like the epitome of that, where it's this goofy thing that, obviously it doesn't really matter to anybody, but it's just a fun thing to say, like, what if we actually did this? What would
Yeah.
actually happen? Because they said in the movie it was like a 3-minute montage in the movie of them like, hitting different places and freezing their buns off and their snot's frozen and all the stuff in that movie. But yeah, they're called Common Tread.
Okay.
But the Revzilla, I don't even know what the Common Tread XP. It's kind of confusing. That's like in their title.
It's like their show within the show or something like
yeah,
that.
I guess so. Yeah. Maybe they do more of these, but Revzilla's the guys, and it's just a really fun video. It's 30 minutes, and I'd say it's worth the watch just because I love that movie. So
yeah, that's I
lot of
see it
fun.
right here. I'm gonna have to save it for later. Very cool. What else you been doing, man?
Let me bring up the movie. I got distracted. Actually, now they say that the reason I'm distracted is because the All-Star game's on right now, and I have it picture-in-picture on my screen, so I'm watching it right now. But one of the really cool things about it, I know most people who probably listen to this don't care about sports. That's fine. I do, so I'm going to talk about it.
You never know, man.
One of the cool things that they're doing this year is they have earpieces in a bunch of the field players' ears. And so the announcer is just having a conversation with these guys while they're playing.
What?
And at the last at bat, the guy's literally up to bat telling the announcer what he thinks the pitch is that's about to come in, which is just, it's so cool because I think as a baseball fan, as somebody who grew up playing baseball, like my dad really instilled that love of baseball in me. And one of the things that I think he really taught me was like the fun thing about baseball is that interaction between pitcher and hitter. And it's this mind game of what pitch am I going to throw next? Am I going to go high, low, inside, outside? And it's this constant thing of like, I brush you back with an inside pitch. I come back on the outside corner. Maybe you're a little hesitant to step in because you're afraid I'm going to come back in on you again. But then you might think that I'm thinking that way. It's like this whole like reverse and reverse psychology thing with the batter and pitcher. And, you're reading the pitcher's like movements when he's on the mound. Like, is he going to throw me something crazy? Is it going to be curveball, changeup, whatever, and to be like able to like ask the hitter in the box, like, what do you think's coming? And then to see if he gets it right, see what happens. It's just, that is so cool. It's just a cool thing that technology has brought us in 2021 that, it's just so awesome. He's talking to Freddie Freeman, the first baseman just now, which he's on my favorite team, the Braves. And so it's just, the All-Star game is just so much fun. And last night I got to watch the home run derby, and that was just awesome. The guy broke the record for the most home runs hit in one round with 35 home runs.
Jeez.
Just nuts. Dude hit a 520-foot home run, which is just insane. Insanely far. It's just a lot of fun. They're playing up in Colorado at Coors Field, and so the ball's going to travel a lot further because the air's a lot thinner up there. So wow. Just a lot of fun. It's so cool to have, not even live sports back, because that's been true for a while, but to have a completely packed stadium, just so awesome, and have the fans there cheering, and just baseball, man, just Americana at its best. Yeah. So
do you think like the earpiece, do you think like that is, because it's interesting, there's a lot of things that technology has done for like viewing and like being like entertained by games. Like, but none of it really is super interactive with the player itself. Like,
Yeah.
a player isn't ever going to get like clotheslined by like the crane camera or trip over the invisible
Yeah.
line of scrimmage that's digitally.
Exactly.
But with this, like, do you think there's like a potential someone like is like, holy crap, like they get distracted by it or something like that?
Yeah, I think this is something that will only happen for special games that aren't super serious. I don't think that any player would ever agree to do this when it actually matters. The All-Star game, it matters a little bit. They changed the rules a while back to where whatever team, the National League plays the American League. Major League Baseball split up into two leagues, the National League and the American League. And so whatever team wins, they get home field advantage. So they're the team that gets the first, was it 2 or 3 games at their stadium. And so if it goes the full 7, they'll get 1 extra game out of the 7 games. So you have to have one team, when you're playing 7 games, you have to have one team that gets to play an extra one. And it's always kind of viewed as an advantage when you are the team that gets the first. I can't remember. I think it's 2 games, then 2 games, then 3. Can't remember. It's something like that. They divide it up, so it's like split. But whoever it is, like I said, gets an extra game, and that team who gets an extra game also gets the first games. So there's an advantage to that. You get home field advantage, of course, but you don't have to travel. I mean, there's a lot of things that are nice about that. So the teams have taken it more seriously since that was changed. But, yeah, so it matters a little bit, but no, I don't think anybody's going to be in the NBA Finals, for instance, on a mic. They're not going to get LeBron or Kevin Durant or something talking.
Yeah,
I think he's going to go. He's going to drive right now. I'm going to block him. I'm not going to do that. But
it's like, whoa.
I think it would be cool, at least if in these All-Star games, for all the different sports, if they did that, maybe have the goalkeeper at least in soccer, with an earpiece in, because he's not quite as winded the whole game as all the field players. But it's a really cool idea that I haven't. The only thing I've seen, like NFL guys, they'll have a mic maybe, and then like later in the game they'll play back something that happened, like an interaction with a teammate, or they've put headsets on in the dugout with the coach and he'll talk about what's going on. So that's cool, but nothing like this, like a guy at bat. That's so cool.
That is nuts.
So yeah, the movie I watched is A Rainy Day in New York.
Oh, I don't think I've heard of this one. What's that about, Luke?
Timothée Chalamet, Ella Fanning star in this movie. Come on. My computer's maxed out right now.
Like all the young rising stars.
Yeah, it's what's his name? Woody Allen. Yeah, it's a Woody Allen movie. So written and directed by Woody Allen. It's got classic Woody Allen style, and the script is so Woody Allen. So I'm kind of split on Woody Allen. I was thinking about this after watching this movie. There's things I really like about his style, and then there's things that really annoy me. And the things I like is that he kind of harkens back to like a time gone, with his movies of, love interests, and they're in this romantic setting. And there's just not a lot of movies that are like that. He likes to do Paris and Rome and Barcelona and New York. And he likes to have scenes in the rain. I mean, obviously this movie, but he'll have them on a scooter on the countryside, and it feels very old Hollywood to me. And, he's a director from a different time than a lot of the rom-coms that we see that come out now. But the thing that really annoyed me is the way he writes his script. I feel like it forces these actors it really feels like they're delivering their line in a just very blocky, woody way, like without a lot of like softness to it. And it feels forced. And I think it's the script, because every actor was doing it in the whole movie. And yeah, it bothered me the whole movie. It's like, loosen up, like,
yeah, it could be a
you know what I mean by Woody
too.
Allen. It's like,
I do, yeah,
the way he scripts it, it's like they're dictating lines to each other. It just feels that way.
Yeah, it's almost like in your face kind of writing there, where it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like a I think like yeah. I know, I definitely know what you mean. It is very in your face kind of style when it comes to his scripts and acting directing. I mean, he is directing
Yeah.
these actors to act this way, and so
Mhm.
yeah.
But yeah, this is definitely worth a watch. It has Selena Gomez. I think this
Wow.
may be her first, at least more full featured role.
How
I
dare
want to
you?
say she was in something,
How
but
dare you neglect to the Hotel Transylvania series?
oh, I didn't.
Okay, I'm just
I
kidding.
didn't even
Screwing
know.
around.
But live action, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is 2019, so it's a couple years old now. But yeah, I think it was on Amazon or something. It just kept
Okay.
popping up. Like every time I'd go on there, I'm like,
Watch this.
fine, I'll watch
this.
it.
Watch this.
It looks good enough. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's a pretty good cast. Liv Schreiber's in it, Jude Law. So yeah, you're into romantic New York movie. Pretty good one.
Cool. I might give
Not
it a
bad.
shot. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen a Woody Allen movie, honestly. I mean, like what? Midnight in Paris.
Yeah, I think that the Barcelona one was the last one I saw. That like weird title, whatever it is.
Yeah. Dang. There's a lot of them that fly under my radar, honestly. Cool. Anything else?
No.
Yeah. I haven't been watching or playing too much either. I don't know. It's just one of those weeks where I don't know, you feel busy sometimes, but either way, I am playing the trial. Like, you know how a lot of these games will be released as a trial, where it's not like a demo, but it's like, here's the beginning, play this, and if you buy the game, your progress will transfer over until that full purchase. And so I am playing Monster Hunter Stories 2 on the Nintendo Switch.
Is that the new one?
Yeah, it just came out a little bit ago, but I'm playing the trial just to see if I like it. I mean, I don't know. I've talked to you about Monster Hunter.
Similar to Monster Hunter World?
No.
In gameplay?
No.
Different gameplay?
Yeah, I mean, Monster Hunter is kind of like, it's like an action RPG with like a real kind of, I don't know, with a real specific loot that I'm not really into. Like, I tried getting into Monster Hunter. It's just not for me. And so to hear that this is something a little completely different, I was like, all right, let's
you
try
tried World, you mean?
Yeah, I tried World. I haven't tried like Rise
like
or anything. Yeah, I just didn't like it. I've tried it like twice. Like, I picked it up and I was like, let's see how this is. I'm not having fun.
Was it too slow? What was it you didn't like?
I don't know. I guess it's just the game progression. Like, there isn't it's like something about it, like, welcome to this island, we need you to find 3 of this kind of monster or whatever, and then you just like teleport out into this world. Something about it just felt, it didn't really hook me. I don't know, like, it could be something where it's like, oh, you have to play with people, or oh, you have to get 10 hours into the game. I don't know, but either way, I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna get into it too much. But with Stories, I was like, okay, this is more like a RPG, like a story-based RPG where it's like it's turn-based and all that stuff. Not saying that like turn-based is the thing that like, I'm like, oh my gosh, turn-based. No, I'm interested in the fact that it's like a full-fledged story, and it's not like kind of this thing where it's like, I'm just gonna put you in a situation where you're fighting monsters for reasons that maybe you care about. I don't know. I'm interested in the fact that there's a story and there's gameplay progression in a way that makes sense to me. And so I'm playing a little bit of this. It's so far, it's exactly what I expected. You know, it is like, oh, this is a story. This is like a JRPG and turn-based combat, and there's a lot more characters. And yeah, it's so far, I think it's pretty charming. I don't know if I haven't finished it yet, the trial. I mean, a lot of these trials are generous as far as like how far they let you get into these, you know, like, I think like the Dragon Quest one, it like lets you get like about 10 hours into the game, and like Final Fantasy Online, it's like get to level 60, and I'm like, goodness gracious, these are, very generous as far as like how long they give you. But that makes sense because you can actually really grasp whether or not it's the game for you. But I'm playing that, and so far it's nice. I mean, I like the way it looks. It's not like mind-blowing as far as graphics are concerned. I mean, kind of like obviously, but It looks nice art style. They go for a more cell shaded anime esque kind of art style as far as like
Looks similar to gosh, the Disney game.
Kingdom Hearts.
It's Kingdom Hearts.
How
Yeah,
dare
it
you.
looks similar to.
Oh
Kingdom
yeah, it's
Hearts.
like a more cell shaded like Kingdom Hearts looking thing. It reminds me of a Nino Kuni a little bit in the way the characters look, but yeah, it so far so good. Watched a few movies. A lot of these I've seen before. It's just, you know, that movie thing behind me, what me and my wife and I do, we go to the thing and we just kind of pick out movies and
Thing.
yeah,
Monstrosity.
the shelf of movies. We'll go and we'll do this thing where we'll like pull out a movie and then we'll take turns, like the process of elimination basically until we're watching. It's kind of fun. I actually enjoy doing this with her. But we've watched a few movies like that over the last week or so, and one of them was Monty Python and the Meaning of Life.
Nice.
It's one I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I mean, it's just
ridiculous.
It absolutely ridiculous, and there's kind of a joy in that, like, where you're not meant to take it seriously, like at freaking all.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of just watching sketch, like,
sure.
Yeah, there's something about sketch comedy where it's almost like it's like film adjacent to like stand up almost, where it's like the sole purpose is to like just make you laugh. Yeah. And there's not like, you don't have to worry too much about story because the story lasts 5 minutes. You know, it's kind of like that. And then if that last joke didn't work for you, here's the next one or whatever. And
it's unique though that it's an entire movie like that.
Entire movie of it.
Where it's completely like, don't worry about the story.
Don't worry about it.
It's stupid.
This is really ridiculous. And like they make fun of it throughout the movie. They're like, are they ever going to talk about the meaning of life? Well, maybe they'll get to it at some point. And they never do. It's just a premise to tell a bunch of jokes, basically. And it's fun. I love watching those guys do their thing.
It's so unique, like what they do. So different.
Oh, absolutely. It's something that was here and it is gone, and it's like place and time, and I enjoy going back to them. All their Monty Python stuff. It's something. We watched I don't know if you've seen this one, Luke. It's a movie called Nine. I feel like there was a time where a lot of movies came out called Nine. There was a movie, it was an animated movie with like a bunch of like almost like Sackboy looking characters that with like Elijah Wood voicing. And then there was a movie called The Nines that had like Ryan Reynolds in it. It was like a more of an indie thing. And then there's this movie called Nine. It's a musical. I think it's adaptation of a Broadway musical.
Looking at it.
Yeah, it's
quite the cast.
Yeah, quite the cast. Same director as he directed the film version of Chicago, but you got Daniel Day-Lewis in the lead, which is he's always entertaining. The movie itself, you know what? I have almost like a love-hate
so many big female actors.
Oh yeah, man. Penelope Cruz,
Judi Dench.
Yeah, Judi Dench. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I know
Maria Contia.
This might come off as a little bit rude, but why do we keep asking Judi Dench to sing? I really like Judi Dench, incredible as far as like her acting capabilities. She's amazing every time she shows up in a movie. I'm like, oh good, you know. But when I'm watching a musical, it's more like, oh boy, you know, because I know she's gonna have a number that I am not going to enjoy. Like it's whether it's this or Cats or whatever. I'm just like, oh no, oh no, why is she here?
Yeah, I agree.
She does not. Why? Anyways, I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with this movie. I like it like enough, and I love watching Daniel Day-Lewis kind of makes.
How did you get a hold of this movie?
I've had the Blu-ray for a while, actually. It's probably one of my older ones.
Why did you have the Blu-ray for this?
You know, the real question.
Random.
The question is, how did I watch this movie like to begin with? And I think literally, I think it may have been like a Blockbuster rental. I think it was. I think it was one of those situations where I was at Blockbuster with someone like saying, "What are we gonna watch?" and someone said, "How about this?" I think that's how it came about, because I definitely didn't see it in theaters, but I don't know. I mean,
This is apparently based on a Federico Fellini's semi-autobiographical 1963 movie, 8½.
wow, I didn't even know that. Yeah, I know very little about whatever was the progenitor of this, but I like it enough. Like it's weird. I watch it. Like I've seen this movie several times. It's one, ever have movies like that. I don't know, that you don't love it, but there's something about it that, like, after a long period of time, like, you get drawn back to it. Like I think a lot of it might be like, even if a movie doesn't completely work, sometimes you're like, yeah, I haven't really seen a movie like it though. And I don't know, that does have a thing where there is an originality to it, and to the story, and just to how it presents each song, where it does the same thing as Chicago. I don't know if this is a style that filmmaker has, the same person who directed it, where you know how like most musicals work, where it's like they're in the world and then all of a sudden everyone breaks out in song and dance and they're just going. It's almost like there's the story, there's the world that the story takes place in, and then it'll like cut to like almost like some weird set or something, and then the musical number happens. It's almost like it's taking place in a different dimension or a different plane, and it's kind of intercut with things going on in the movie. It's the exact same thing that happens in Chicago happens in this, where it's like you'll have Daniel Day-Lewis he's like a director who's like really screwing up and doing a bunch of stupid decisions, and he's like trying to make a bunch of stuff up, and like he's in a press interview, and it's like intercutting between that interview and Daniel Day-Lewis singing this musical number about how he's basically these illusions of grandeur and all that stuff. But it's interesting how you don't really see that too often in musicals. But in a weird way, I do recommend it, even though I kind of don't fully love it. I just kind of like it. It's kind of, it's one of those movies. But yeah. That's weird. Would kind of not really praising recommend, but whatever. Yeah, that's about it, Luke. What do you think of, we get into the main reason?
The
widow herself. Yeah, let's get into this, Luke. Okay, so I guess we'll do some non-spoilers first and just kind of give our thoughts, and then dive into the meat like usual. First off, crazy, right? That Marvel, everyone's seen the trailers. Marvel is back, and it is kind of a weird thing where it's been a year, that's a rare thing for Marvel, I mean, we've had the shows, but still,
thank God for the shows, right?
Yeah, thank God for the shows. Really enjoying
some Marvel content.
Yeah. Thinking of like, I always mention this. I've mentioned this a couple times, but like the last Marvel movie to come out in theaters was Spider-Man: Far From Home, and that was like our second or third episode of the show.
Feels like forever
ago. And I was looking it up, and this has been the longest gap between Marvel movies since it's begun, but there was kind of like a year gap, sort of. It wasn't as many months as it has been now, but between Iron Man and Incredible Hulk, that both came out the same year, and then it was like almost a year before Iron Man 2 came out, and then since then it's been
the steam engine hadn't started going
exactly
yet.
They were shoveling the coal into the fire.
Like, do we have something? I think we might have something.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. And as soon as they realized it, it's just been full steam ahead until COVID. And so
we make the right decision with the whole Avengers thing at the end of Iron Man.
Yeah, right. Are we gonna have to pay Sam Jackson more money?
Yeah. Is he worth bringing back?
Yeah, but here we are. We saw this one together at RPX, which
Yep.
What do you think about RPX, Luke? Before we get into it,
I like it. I mean, I think it's a slightly better experience. But honestly, the only thing I really notice when I'm in there is just the bass. It's really the only thing that really like sticks out at me.
Oh, you don't like the blue lights?
Wow, that bass is really loud. But don't they turn them off during the movie?
They definitely turn them off during the movie.
So it's like, what?
It's just to let you know you're in the right theater.
We were talking about that in it. It's like, This is RPX.
Here's the blue lights and the border of the screen.
You can leave, but don't forget RPX.
Oh my god.
They should just blink them on and off.
I really enjoyed this movie, and now I remember it was an RPX, so I must really enjoy RPX.
I must have liked it more.
Yeah, must have. Yeah, you know, I
think it's better, but
it is better, but
I mean the screen's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's there's like another screen in our theater that is so close to the size of it's a Auditorium 10.
Isn't it the one right next to it?
It's the one right next to it. It's like almost like identical as
the premium
size.
End of the of the theater.
I mean, okay, so I don't know if this is working. I have a theory that I say, you know, when it used to be 3D movies with me, like towards the end of the 3D life cycle, to where I would say, okay, I'm paying the shut up tax, to where it's like, this is the tax I pay for not having as many talking people in the movie. But that failed this time. So I don't know, maybe my theory's off. I feel like basically the people who really want to see the movie will pay the premium and they'll shut up. But I don't know, that's probably not the case.
I feel like you would the only way you could really probably get away with it, and I don't even know if this is completely true, but I would guess the more art house theaters in places like New York and maybe LA would be places where it's like, if you just want to go to a popcorn movie, you're probably not going to go to that theater. This is more like the connoisseurs of movies. But the problem with those theaters is probably they wouldn't play a lot of the movies that we do want to watch like this.
Yeah.
They would probably play movies that we would enjoy, but they wouldn't play all the movies we want to watch, like Black Widow. But
that is the beauty of seeing some of these like independent movies. Like I know when the that's not independent per se, but when the Wes Anderson movie comes out, if I see that day one, no, not a peep. I know everyone.
Something like Once, maybe like a small movie like that, where it's like not many people are even going to know what that is.
Exactly. But anyways, Luke, what'd you think of Black Widow?
I had a good time. I think it was a fine Marvel movie. You know, it was the Marvel formula that is played out so well, and it was done well. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was blown away at any point. It was a good, solid movie.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think I had a really good time with it. I liked it quite a bit, but I think it's almost like there was a few flaws in the movie, not like flaws to where it's like they did a bunch of stuff wrong, but kind of like you're underwhelmed in some aspects. But in the, like, for me, like things like story and action, I felt like I felt a little underwhelmed, but at the same time, they made up for it. And kind of, I think, and in my opinion, the writing and the acting, I think, were really, really good. Like there were some really good performances in the movie. I think it elevated the movie to a point where I'm like, I really like this. I'm enjoying this all the way through. I'm attached. I care. And so when the action scenes happen, and if I at times weren't like blown away by what I was seeing, I was still 100% on board because of the performances and the acting and the writing and that sort of thing. But yeah, that being said, you know, I think the thing that is a lot of people are not criticizing the movie, but kind of, I don't know, just criticizing the reality of it, that this movie does feel like it probably should have come out already, like as far as like its placement in the MCU timeline.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
A lot
I would agree with that critique.
Yeah, and in a way it was like a bummer. It like almost like is a shadow on the movie a little bit.
Right after Civil War, it would have just been so perfect.
Like there are movies like when people who aren't like us, like, will be like, Jordan, you're a freaking nerd. What order should I watch the what order?
Preface it with freaking
nerd that I hate. What?
But I'll spare an ear for your opinion real quick.
They're like, what order should I watch these movies in? I'm like, watch them in order of release, because that's how it makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to watch Captain America before watching Iron Man and Thor, and it doesn't make sense to watch Captain Marvel after
it happened before.
It doesn't make sense to watch Captain Marvel after First Avenger. Not at all. Like, it just doesn't make sense. This is 100% exception.
Yeah.
You can, aside from the end credit scene,
Yep.
you could slot this in right after Civil War.
It's funny. It's so true. We've said the same thing about Star Wars. It's true most of the time in most of the franchises that we enjoy. It's like, no, even though the timeline's different, like The Hobbit is another good example. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I would not recommend you watch that before. Like, watch the good stuff, then watch The Hobbit.
Yes.
But yeah, this is like that one exception where it's like, yeah, feels weird. Like
Yeah.
the way stuff's being talked about, and it's like, okay, yeah, now I know what they're talking. Yeah, I can remember back. It's like, it's been a while since I've watched Civil War, so yeah, it's like,
Absolutely.
oh yeah, that's right. We're not talking about Infinity War. We're
Yeah.
not talking about Endgame stuff.
It doesn't have like prequelitis, where like prequelitis will like, it's referencing things that you know because it's already happened. This doesn't do that. It like does the MCU thing where like it references the things that are status quo at that moment in the timeline. They're talking about, oh, the Avengers are fighting or whatever, the Avengers aren't getting along, and like that's the stuff you expect to hear when seeing an MCU movie. You're like, yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out. Yeah, you know, it's cool, you know, like to get those drops, but you already know how that plays out, so it's so strange. It literally feels like they made this movie and they're like, oops, we forgot to release it. I don't know. I know that's not the case, but it feels that way.
Yeah,
it's
it really
so
does.
weird.
Yeah, I don't really understand what they were thinking back then. I don't know why it took so long to make a Black Widow movie, honestly. It's just,
Yeah.
She's been around for a long time, guys. Like, she's been a character in the Marvel Universe for quite a while now. She was one of the first ones you introduced, so why was she not brought in earlier? I don't understand.
I'd be curious to know, like, probably years down the line, like, what happened. Because I'm not like in conspiracies or anything like that, but I would venture to say that I think this script was written like, you know, in like around the time where it was supposed to be released, you know, with this stuff was going on.
Some form of this script, I guess.
Yeah. That's what it feels. Yeah, some form of the script. Exactly. That's what it feels like to me. And for some reason, they were like, no, I think we should release this movie and this movie instead. I don't know if we're going to get to a Black Widow movie. And then later on, they're like, you know what? We should probably do it. And they do it. And it's like, way too late. It's so, let's just do that exact same script. But she's dead. No, let's just do it. You know, that's, it feels like.
The cynical mind in me says that the Me Too movement pushed them to do this.
Yeah.
That's the cynical mind. But yeah, the fan side of me says she was introduced in Iron Man 2, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, she was, yeah, I mean, it was definitely 2012 was the Avengers, 2007 was Iron Man, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And then,
yeah.
So what, was it 2009 then that Iron Man 2?
You're right, yes, 2009.
So we're talking about 12 years now. You've been sitting on a character and not producing a solo film for her. Yeah. The only reason is, like you said, it has to be they didn't think they could make enough money off of it. But I don't know. That seems garbage. I mean, you bring Iron Man even into Black Widow if you want to bring more people into the theater if you think that that's a problem. I mean, if you show Robert Downey with Black Widow, you know, Iron Man with Black Widow in a movie like that, I think it would work. And
yeah,
we probably would have gotten a very different movie back then before the Avengers that you know, may not have been as good. I don't know. It just, they've done so many good movies. It's hard to not think that they would have gotten it right. It's incredible how consecutively they've gotten this formula correct, where even characters that I would say, like Ant-Man, for instance, you know, I had a lot of doubts when that movie was coming out.
Yeah.
I think that's a good movie. I don't think it's one of the top tier Marvel movies. I think Ant-Man has progressively gotten better and better as they've iterated on it. And, you know, Paul Rudd, I think, has had more time with the character. And I think that has turned into a great character. And, but I mean, if you can get Guardians of the Galaxy right, you can get Black Widow right.
Yes.
Right? You're right. And like I was saying, they did Ant-Man right. So yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah, I think it's good that we talked about that up front, because I do think that it's almost like, yeah, it's this weird thing that like covers the movie in a way and like covers your impression of it, where you're just like, wow, I wish we got this sooner. But upon rewatching this saga or whatever, I will watch Black Widow out of release sequence and in chronological order, because that's what I think, how I'm actually looking forward to experiencing it that way, because I feel like it'll feel better, honestly.
You're gonna need a lot of time to watch all these movies now.
Yeah, I know. I don't know when we're getting
becomes so many,
like 24, 25. Where are we at? I don't know.
Crazy.
Nuts. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and get into the movie more probably specifically. I mean, if you're watching this, you or listening to this podcast, you've probably seen the movie. So we both like it, obviously. Let's
Yep.
Yeah. I do kind of want to talk about, we don't have to talk about this chronologically, but I do kind of want to talk about this opening, because this was a moment where I was like, what is this movie going to be? Because I didn't really know what to expect too much with this movie, but when we go back this far into the past and see them as kids, I wasn't sure about it, you know, when I was watching it at first. What were your thoughts on
What were you thinking? What were you worried about there?
I don't know. I was hoping that the movie, like a lot of people were being like, oh, are we going to get this like Black Widow prequel? And I didn't really want that. I mean, this is a prequel, but it's like, I didn't want to see her becoming a Black Widow or anything like that. So at the beginning,
you thought they were going to spend too much time perhaps on that part.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things that like certain prequels do, especially when you have like a different actor playing the character that you know, where you're like, oh, this isn't really quite the character that you love, but she'll get there. You know, when you don't want that. And so, but you know, when the movie was over, I was like, okay, it needed that like, it needed that entire sequence because of, you know, what it was setting up. But
it kind of referenced things when she was growing up. And I think, they needed to flesh that out just to kind of get it out of the way, so there were no questions about where she came from and what happened.
Yeah,
I think that was good.
I meant to look this up before the show. Maybe you can enlighten me, Luke. Something that I completely missed a plot line. So they were in what did they obtain during their time undercover in Ohio? They got like a floppy disk. What was that, like the data to like, because it seemed like they obtained something that like was able to make the Black Widow team kind of be what it is, with the whole mind control thing and the being able to like,
I swear she mentioned it. I'm blanking on it right now.
Yeah.
I swear they mentioned it later on.
Most of the time we talk about Ohio.
Is it maybe the formula for the mind control?
It must be. It was like, it must be. It's not talked about very much. I mean, the formula certainly is, but like Ohio, anytime they talk about their time in Ohio, it's like more of the family aspect and how they were living a lie and what it meant to each character, you know, that sort of thing. You don't talk about, oh yeah, and I was doing this, you know.
Yeah, and they don't even mention like where he was working or what happened outside of the house. Basically, just we got it.
You got it. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
But
it was a very interesting dynamic, the whole family. It's not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Me neither.
I was expecting more of an origin story of like who she really was. And this was that, but it was like she basically had no parents, and her sister, quote unquote sister, isn't a real sister, and we don't really know where she came from basically at all. Just these like short little like quotes people say about it. But so that, I wasn't really expecting it that way, but okay.
Yeah.
I think it worked fine enough. It just wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that, it's like we get something that we rarely get in an MCU movie, or really any movie now these days, and that's an opening title sequence. Like, I was like taken aback. I was like, ooh, like already it didn't really feel like a Marvel movie to me, which it very much will very soon. But like, you know, having an opening title sequence is not something they do, at least not very often, where they have a song. They don't have a lot of licensed music usually, unless it's being played from like a Walkman or on someone's stereo. And so the fact that this cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit comes on, I was kind of taken aback. It's very interesting and weird to see in an MCU movie. I'm trying to pull up
I had just recently watched that Rainy Day in New York, and they had the same thing, so it was kind of strange to come off that movie and have that, and then a Marvel movie has the same thing.
Yeah,
that was odd. It didn't feel like a modern movie for it to have that, before movie credits.
It's absolutely right. It's that started in the 90s. It's a very 90s thing to do, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm racking my brain to think if there's any other Marvel movie that has that, and I'm not really sure, but I don't know. Someone remind me.
I want to say there has been.
There's gotta be.
I want to say Dark
another.
World, maybe, but
maybe. I have no.
I thought there was
idea.
something with like the ether at the beginning, like in the credits with it like moving around, but
maybe
that was after the credits. It's hard to remember if it was before or after whatever you were seeing.
Yeah, because they have usually do have very elaborate end credits, but yeah. But anywho,
let's say it was the formula they stole.
Yeah.
Back to your original question.
Let's just say it's that. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Something that I liked about this movie. I mean, when Natasha kind of flees the country or whatever from General Ross, and once like she kind of hooks up with the cast, something that I'm like, I feel like it's a change with Black Widow that I really appreciate. Usually she's the character where you're, like that scene in Winter Soldier where it's like, oh, do you really think that you're going to kill me, Captain America? She's like, and he's like, no, but she will. And like, but in this one, it almost seems like it's reversed. She's more of like the straight-laced kind of like hero character among all the people who are more hardened and, edgy. She's the one who is like more likely to give a hero speech or do the right thing in the moment where it's easier to do the wrong thing. And so that was actually kind of refreshing to see. She isn't like changed or anything like that, but just because her environment has switched.
Yeah, it felt very much in those ways that you're describing it as them trying to like change up the formula.
Yeah.
Like the whole Florence Pugh like complaining about her like doing the poses and stuff. It just felt very much like, okay, let's try to freshen this up with something new and different. Yeah. Who could blame them? I mean, that's what you do when you've made 24 movies before this.
Absolutely. Florence Pugh, I continue to be a huge fan of this actor. I think she always brings something good to every role she's in. I think like this character had the opportunity to be like this really dour and kind of like bummed out, brooding character that's like, always just upset that like, like jilted, forgotten, left behind, all that stuff, and just kind of whining the whole movie. But like, it would probably a combination of the writing and her performance. I think she brings something really fun and likable to this role, and I'm actually really invested in her character. So she is awesome in this. I mean, this movie's full of, I think, pretty good performances, but I think she's really freaking good. I continue to be a huge fan of hers.
I would definitely agree.
Yeah. Definitely. When she'll like make these little comments, she's funny. She's funny in it, and like even when she's not, she's endearing. And when she's serious, when she actually goes serious, like I connect with her. I'm like, I feel bad for her, because she was the young one in that situation. Like Natasha was already hardened a little bit, and she already went through some of the Black Widow program, but she hasn't. So that whole family thing meant like everything to her at the time. So she's like holding on to it the most, and like you really feel that throughout the movie,
which is exactly how it would be. That's what I like about that. It's very realistic.
Absolutely. And I'm a fan. I'm glad she's obviously going to be used in the future, hopefully in good ways.
Yeah, I think so. I think she's got a lot of future. I mean, I think, as this original cast they've done a lot as they do. They're going to be pushed out by new actors. It's just kind of how things go. So, I think we're going to slowly be introduced to more and more of the new generation of Marvel heroes. And
yes,
I think this was another, block in that wall that's been being built up of new heroes. And I think it's a good choice.
It's always a relief when that works.
We're kind of talking to things at the end of the movie, but it's just, you did a good job.
Absolutely. It's we get introduced to Taskmaster. What was your impression seeing Taskmaster coming into it? Do you have like a lot of knowledge about Taskmaster?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really cool. It's just the whole mimicking thing. I thought that was a really cool dynamic.
Yeah.
Who does it remind us of? I know there's somebody else who does that. Can't remember what. I can't remember, but just the whole like mimicking everything else and like absorbing people's powers.
The alien at the
I'm
end
gonna
of
think of it.
Annihilation. Is that that's what you're thinking of, Luke? The alien at the end of Annihilation.
No, that's not what I was thinking of. But you're right.
It's a really creepy kind of way.
Man. Can't think of it. I'll think of it eventually and I'll mention it then.
I thought the Taskmaster scenes were probably some of the best fighting in the movie.
Did that seem pretty accurate to you of your knowledge of Taskmaster?
The abilities, yes. Character, no, not at all. But I'm not super hurt by it. You know, it's like I'm not like in a way where like when they say screwed up Venom for me in Spider-Man 3, that like hurt my feelings a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, no, there's your opportunity gone. And so with this, I'm just like, okay, you know, what are you gonna do with this pretty cool character that I know about? I know it's like usually obsessed with just honing his skills, and he does that through mimicry and all that stuff. And that's kind of what I know, but it's not this. But at the same time, I'm not like really, it doesn't really hurt my feelings or anything. I think this is a fine thing to do to a character, but it's not Taskmaster. But either way, I think the story that they come up with, I think, is compelling enough, you know?
Yeah, it's very much in service of the story they're trying to tell.
It's like, yeah, they weren't like too concerned about being like, oh, we know the character of Taskmaster, we're gonna have to do
anything
this
like that.
Yeah. That seems to kind of be how they do with their villains a lot of the time, where it's like with their heroes, they're like, we're gonna pay a lot of attention to our heroes, they're gonna be very comic book accurate. And with their villains, like sometimes they're great and very comic book accurate.
Thanos
sometimes
seems pretty accurate from what I've read.
He's excellent. No, he's better sometimes in the comic.
But I mean, like the origin that they tell, it seems pretty along the lines of the comic.
Yeah, and then sometimes they're like, it's kind of like that character in name only. Maybe there's some of the abilities, but yeah. But either way, they came up with something compelling, I think, and for that character to be, and meant something to the hero, and I think that worked out all right. And Taskmaster isn't really the main villain of this movie, anyway. So, but I think it nailed the action scenes correctly. You know, I think there was something dangerous when Taskmaster was on the loose and hunting you down. There was something, you know, kind of threatening about it.
Definitely.
That's good.
I wish that character could live on. I think that's probably one of my biggest complaints. Because of the way, unless they have something where it's like, well, that was just the first generation, and now we have another way of doing it. I don't know. It'd be weird the way they wrote it, but
it's funny. I
could see them bringing it back in some way later.
They've done that with the Mandarin. They have backtracked sort of on the Mandarin, and now we're gonna get a different one. So
that has got to be the worst misstep Marvel has ever made.
That was pretty bad.
That was terrible.
Yeah, that
movie was just yeah. We've talked about it before, but that's probably my least favorite Marvel movie.
Bottom rung for us. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, where it's like, oh, everyone's excited to see the Mandarin, right? Not the Mandarin. Gotcha. And so this is kind of like that, but not nearly to that degree, where it's like revealed in a poop joke, basically.
Oh my God. Don't remind me. Painful memories.
Yeah. But either way, leads me into something else where it's like, you know, I feel like, you know, not to go here or whatever, but I feel like a lot of misstep a lot of people do with these movies that are, you know, they try really hard to be about female empowerment, which a lot of them are, but and this one is, and I think something they do really right that can frustrate me sometimes when they lean too heavily into that. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll forget to make the character human. And I'm glad that this character has made some serious mistakes, and like it's about because you latch onto that because we're human, and women are human and they make mistakes too, and it's good to latch onto that and be like, let's see how this character overcomes the things that she's done and everything. And so like the whole thing with like Taskmaster and that reveal, it's like, yeah, she did something terrible, horrible, and so she's like spending her time trying to redeem herself and to overcome her guilt.
Those are the kind of stories we want told.
It's good. This is good stuff.
Idealizing garbage, like it's just not entertaining.
Exactly. Not this person's perfect. Nothing to overcome. The only thing they need to overcome is understanding that they're perfect. No, I mean, okay, no.
Yeah.
This stuff is great.
Or I hate it when it's only they have to overcome the stupidity of the men around them. I really don't like that either. It's like there can be a perfectly fine balance. Like nobody needs to be ridiculed or belittled. Like there can be a balance between, you know, personality differences and like true like character flaws. Like that's what makes a story great. Like, focus on those things.
And yeah, she is completely badass in this movie and awesome. And guess what? She has some human stuff to do too, which is very useful to the viewer who also has to overcome things in life. And so
relatability is the name of the game when it comes to a good movie.
Absolutely. And I was able to relate to most of these characters. Like, as I said, with how they did what they did with Natasha's character, it's very relatable. It's just like to overcome something you regret in the past. And freaking with Florence Pugh's
They did a great job with all those, honestly. Alexei, Melina, like all of them, the whole family. Like it's as ridiculous as David Harbour's character was, he still in the end was a very relatable character that just had some funny lines, and you know, he just continues to be like just a great actor. And you know, we love him from Stranger Things, and I'm glad to see that he's gotten more work, you know, since then with some bigger characters. I mean, this is, at least for me, this is the biggest role I've seen him in, you know, in a big name movie like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the bigger ones he's been in. He's freaking hilarious, man. He's cracking me up in this movie. He's great. Like the scene where he's
well, I guess
dart
Hellboy.
goes in.
My bad. Hellboy,
okay,
obviously.
Yeah.
I forgot he played the new Hellboy.
As most people have, including me sometimes.
Yeah.
I've seen
but still, it's a big role for him.
Big role. This one will probably continue, I would imagine, into the future. I can imagine we're going to see this character show up again.
I hope so.
Me too. He's a fun character.
I hope Rachel Weisz is able to return as well.
Yeah.
Hope they find a role for her.
She has a really interesting kind of personality in this, kind of an unusual like humor to her, I would say, as well. Or there's like this really wry,
but she also kicks butt at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love the when she's like hobbling at the end or whatever, and like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "I'm clearly injured." Like,
I know.
Crack me up.
It's just a great line.
Yeah.
I'm clearly injured. That's British. That's not Russian at all.
I can't do it. I can't do the Russian. Clearly injured. I know. Nope, not at all. Anyways, we tried. This movie deals with some really dark subject matter. Holy crap.
That freaking girl's head pops. That was,
I
remember seeing you be like, oh my.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, when they like showed her the charred side of her face. I was like, oh my gosh. There's a little...
Sometimes Marvel goes into things like, I remember thinking it when Thanos' head got cut off. I was like, this is going to be like watched by kids?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it wasn't a Saul version of a head coming off, but it was like, okay. Not expecting that. I mean, I wanted that to happen, but I was not expecting that to happen.
It's, you know, it's what the rating says, really. If it's PG-13, you know, PG 13-year-olds, that's great. But like, yeah, there was a little, you heard her, like there's a dude and his young daughter, young daughter with us who's not enjoying the movie. Like I'll say this, she was not like having a great time. Like she asked her dad during the middle of the movie, like, can we go home now? And I was like, damn. And it's like, and he's like, she's like talking the whole movie, which is also
too young.
Annoying. Too young for this sort of thing. I get it. You want to take your daughter to see Black Widow, but a little too young, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, dark stuff. Like these children are being taken and like neutered and freaking, or we don't know what the word is for that, and like enslaved.
The fact that they address that,
goodness gracious, but it's all done though in a kind of a lighthearted way, and like they'll do it and it's horrifying and you get it, but at the same time they're not going to dwell too much on it because they don't want it to be a bummer. And I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, this isn't like I try to be like Schindler's List here, and we're watching a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
You can have, as long as we get how bad things are, and that's fine. And I think they dwell on it the perfect amount of time.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of split on it, where I think you eliminate some parents. Speaking as a parent now, I think you eliminate some parents who are probably unwilling to show a movie that mentions that kind of stuff. So,
it's very true.
I don't know if they struck the right balance. I mean, for me, it was fine. But if I had my 10-year-old daughter in there watching that, I would be very hesitant to want to recommend, a friend bring their daughter in.
Might have some awkward questions on the way home. Maybe.
I think it went too far for a younger audience. I think, a teenager, that'd be fine. But
13 maybe.
Younger audience. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't have a 13-year-old. I can't speak to that yet, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd be okay at 13, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just different when you're thinking at it from the perspective of a parent,
Absolutely. I think out of all of them, like, this has probably some of the darker subject matter of all these Marvel movies. There's some dark stuff that happens. Again, Thanos getting his head chopped off. That scene in Guardians 2 where they're like ejecting all those bodies into space, and you like see them float up to the camera as they freeze. That's God. But like, as far as subject matter goes, this definitely has some of the darker.
Loki's head being snapped.
Yeah, that God. But this, as far as like, the implications are pretty dire.
Yeah. It's just very different from like the Avengers, that movie was very much you can pretty much bring anybody to this. It'd be fine. It's not really a problem. But things have evolved from there.
Absolutely. When they get to the main villains, like, oh my God, get to the reveal that Dreykov's daughter is freaking the Taskmaster, and he's like enslaved his mutilated daughter as to this like mindless puppet. It's like, gee, it's like one of the darkest things I've seen. This thing, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, Dreykov is definitely one of the sicker villains.
Oh jeez. I like there is like some really good continuity here. I mean, this stuff has been talked about since Avengers, where, Loki, during the interrogation scene with Natasha and Loki, he calls out like some of the stuff that Barton told him about Drake. He mentions Dreykov's daughter as something that she's guilty about or whatever, and having read in her ledger and all that stuff. And so I like the.
I forgot they mentioned that.
Yeah. Some good continuity. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, what a miserable life these characters have had. Jeez.
And then the whole like brainwashing thing with the like chemical, that's just crazy.
Yeah. Very sick. We start off with Florence Pugh as she kills her friend unwillingly the moment she's
that's another
free.
Intense scene.
Like,
she's twisting the knife into her.
Yeah. And then she wakes up, she's like, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah.
I remember when I was sitting there watching that, thinking like, this is one of those typical fight scenes. She's not going to end up stabbing her. She's going to miss. Somebody's going to get knocked out. Then she stabbed her. I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Then she started twisting the knife. Like, wow, I wasn't really expecting that. Those fight scenes where it's like nothing's really going to happen. They're going to act like they're fighting. Somebody's going to get knocked out. Somebody's going to run away. Nope. Straight up dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, oh, they went there.
Yeah.
But yeah, did not want to. These are like heroes that you do not want their lives at all, because they've probably the most tragic backstory of all these heroes, which yeah, but again, it's kind of a relief that these heroes aren't they're not like brooding the whole movie. There's a lot of levity here. You know, there's a lot there's like they talk about a lot of it, a lot of this dark stuff, but there is a lot of like lightness. I mean, for like you and me to like still be able to enjoy the movie and not be bummed out the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a story that could definitely be told that way. It's a hard balance to strike.
Oh yeah, if they wanted it, this could very much be a movie where we're just crying the whole movie, or like, you know, the characters are just upset the entire time, which no.
It always has reminded me of that movie with Jennifer Lawrence, where she's like
Red Sparrow.
Basically, yeah, she's basically the same version of this, just renamed Red Sparrow.
Yeah,
I've always Black Widow. I mean, it's really the same thing.
I've always thought that when seeing this, I was like, I'll seeing that trailer for whenever that movie came out, I was like, Black Widow.
Yeah, and it could very much be the exact same thing that movie is, and I'm pretty sure that's an R-rated movie. It could easily be that way, but you know, they skip over a lot of things that, you know, the areas in her life where stories could have been told. They kind of just skip right over it and just say, yeah, you changed your life. Now you're an Avenger, but you got out. You know, that's kind of the way that whole period of her life is addressed. But it's probably for the best to keep it a PG-13. But, you know, in the R-rated alt universe, I think this could have been more of a Joker-esque movie that had a happy ending, but, you know, it could get real dark. I mean,
absolutely.
Everybody knows those Russian movies. It's just like deal with some serious stuff. Russian mafia. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that could have gone down.
Yeah. Not to make like a left-hand turn here, but like, you know, I mentioned the fact that there were some elements that like left me feeling underwhelmed, and I'm trying to like put my finger on what that is as we're reviewing this movie. And like, I think I've kind of put my finger on it as I've kind of noticed while we're talking about this. We usually like talk a lot about beat by beat and like, well, this part of the movie, oh my gosh, this part, this plot line or whatever. And like, when I'm thinking about it, nothing really like there's no part of the movie that made a huge impression on me. I just kind of get a general impression from the movie as a whole, like in the characters and that kind of thing. The characters are what makes the biggest impression on me, honestly, in this movie. But as far as like how you like, for instance, think of a movie like Iron Man 2. Oh, it was really cool when he had the suitcase suit or whatever and he pulled that apart. And, you know, Winter Soldier. Oh, that highway fight when he was doing that like knife fight with Winter Soldier. Oh, so cool. There isn't really, I don't think this movie has one of those, you know?
The only thing I would say is the twists and turns at the end would be the only thing I would say were pretty notable. That was pretty cool the way they did that with the masks and then the falling out of the ship as it crashed. That was a lot of good stuff.
It did get me. I was kind of surprised in the theater, but like they were like, all that stuff got me. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Okay, you got me, movie. Like,
I was thinking it was setting up some big rescue thing, but no.
Yeah. There's good stuff all throughout, but like things that have me hooked and I'm like engaged. But yeah, there wasn't like, I don't know, like big moment to moment like moments, action, I guess, that was like making me go, yeah, oh my gosh, can't wait to watch that scene again. You know, like it's cool stuff. I mean, like when they're running away from, you know, Taskmaster, it's cool. The escape from getting Alexei out of the prison, it's cool. You know, jumping from the floating fortress, it's cool.
Yeah, I love the whole thing where she had that whole interaction with him. I think that was pretty impactful. And then he didn't sever the nerve thing. Like I thought that was a good line.
All good stuff. 100%. I agree. It is all good stuff. It's good. It establishes a villain in one scene, which is hard to do. Like usually when movies do that, huge fail, terrible. But this one, because the writing and the performer who's playing Dreykov is so dastardly, you kind of get it all in one scene, and it kind of does work. That's impressive.
He's been built up a lot too before that. So
oh yeah, they're talking about him the whole movie. Where's Dreykov? Where is he? Where's the Red Room? And so yeah, that's impressive to be able to pull that off in one interaction. which is a long interaction, but it's all done there.
Yeah.
Usually that's a terrible decision to make, to just reference your villain, and the only time you see him is at the end. It usually never works. It's always bad. But here,
that's true.
It plays out in a way that actually is kind of effective.
Yeah.
You like meet the devil finally, and it's like you see him in all his evilness. You know, it's kind of how it actually plays out.
I enjoyed this Mason character as kind of a side character in this movie. I think he could come back and play some good roles. He's basically the smuggler that Natasha uses, and he's got some funny lines in there.
That's what I know him from.
It's cool to have a guy that just he's kind of the Q of James Bond. He's just gonna have stuff like show up, you know. Be like, you need a jet, you need a Quinjet. Okay,
give me enough time, I can get you whatever you want. You know, those are always some fun characters, and
so that was a cool addition.
Charming performance. I think this director is probably really good at just directing these actors and just getting the best out of them. Because everyone's pretty good in this movie. I do know that actor. I was like, the whole movie.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, Handmaid's Tale. I've given up on that show, but I've watched 2 seasons, and so I know this actor as being the main character.
Never watched that show. But
yeah, I mean,
he seems good.
It's basically if this movie took the subject matter 100% seriously, then we'd get the Handmaid's Tale, basically. So yeah. Shoot. All right. So I mean, I feel like we've talked a lot about. I'm trying to think of anything else I kind of want to mention about the movie. I think the table scene was a standout for me as far as like character stuff. I appreciated all that stuff from like the characters. It was a pivotal moment for each character when the family kind of comes together.
Yeah.
And it's their opportunity for change. And I think, plays off really well. That's one of those moments where like Yelena, like I really do connect when she's like really torn up by how like callous everyone is, and how almost like Natasha steps in front of it and like says what she like kind of can't in the moment about how you're an idiot, you're a coward, you know, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That was a good scene. I thought it was pretty impactful.
Definitely. I think we needed that. At least that little bit of time. I think it could have even used maybe a little bit more than they gave it, but we needed that to set up before we got into the finale, I think. And I think that kind of thing gave more impact to Melina and Alexei, you know, for, you know, maybe subsequent roles in other things, which will probably be centered around Yelena instead of Natasha. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what whatever the new character's called. I guess they'll just call her Black Widow. But whatever Florence Pugh's character ends up being, it'll be interesting to see how they fit into that world, and you know, if they stay with some origin with her, you know, do they kind of connect her back home to her quote unquote parents, or if they just kind of drop Alexei and Melina all together and don't mention them again, because I could kind of see both things happen.
Yeah,
you know, I think I could see them bringing them back, but I could also see they just, you know, move on her as a new hero and just don't address that anymore. It's like, we took care of that in Black Widow. We really don't need to talk about it more. But yeah, I think it would be a shame as well. I think there's some fun stuff there, especially David Harbour. I want him more in movies. So
absolutely.
He's got a funny way about him. He comes off as this just like dry dude, and then he like says stuff. It's just like catches you off guard, and it's just great.
Absolutely. You could use some more humiliation, because he's just getting humiliated the whole movie. I can imagine him getting humiliated next to Thor or even like Spider-Man. He's just constantly getting taken to task.
He's very not far off of his character from Stranger Things, though, you know, and you know, for me, that's totally fine. I love him in that character role, and you wonder with like Florence Pugh and David Harbour, they both have that kind of way of like just adding things into a scene to where it just like makes it more funny, and you wonder, like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall when the script is being read, when they're practicing stuff, like how much change do they add? What do they suggest things that, because they must, because it's like Florence Pugh, time and time again, her character has those things where it's like, oh, that's great. She adds just a little bit of change to it to where it's like, that doesn't sound like you read the script straight up. It sounds like you changed it a little bit. It just, you only feel
Absolutely.
like those people, David Harbour or Florence Pugh, could do it in that way. And
Yes.
so I would love to know what that process is like. It'd be interesting to me. See a behind the scenes of, that's how these two actors,
Make
formed their
own,
character
yeah.
and said, okay, well, what if I did it a little bit different here? What if I did a little bit different here versus what the director's actual vision for that character would be? Because it's like you said, Yelena could very much have been that like mopey, depressed, like brain fried like character who's just like been through so much more than Natasha was even through, just because she was younger. And that it would be, honestly, it would be very realistic if they had gone that way. That's the R-rated version. That's the Joker version that we're talking about,
Handmaid's Tale
of
version.
what this could have been, that it didn't end up being. I think for the best. But yeah, just I went on that more than I wanted to, but it's fun to see actors do things that surprise you a little bit, even if it's in a little way. It's just, it endears you to that actor, and it makes you enjoy the movie as a whole better.
Exactly. It makes you want to see what they do next. And they're like, oh, they're in this. You stand to attention a little bit because you're excited to see what they're going to bring to that role. Like she did that in like Little Women. Like there's a character in Little Women that on paper is like obnoxious and you can't stand the character, but what she does to the character, you end up liking her because like she's just, there's something about, she always brings something a little likable to her roles. It's just, I don't know. I'm praising the crap out of her, and I probably will continue to, but whatever. What did you think about how the movie wrapped up as we wrap up this review?
I think it was fine. It just,
how excited would you be if you saw this after Civil War? How excited would you be for what's coming?
It's tough. I mean, it's right back. This is my biggest issue with this movie right here. It's just, it's tough when it was released. What they did with Black Widow, which I still just, I don't like. I don't like it, to be honest. And maybe Scarlet was a fueling force behind ending that character, but I don't know. I didn't like the way it was ended. I have problems with the fact that the Soul Gem steals that person forever and there's no coming back from that. I don't agree with it because they've already shown that somebody can come back from that. So that really frustrates me. But I thought the movie ended fine as the movie itself. It's just the context of where it sits in the universe is what frustrates me the most. So I guess specifically to this movie, it ended just fine. I mean, it ended the way a lot of Marvel's movies do. They wrap up most of the loose ends and then leave a little bit of things hanging out there for the future to get you excited, to get you back in the theater in 6 months for the next movie to see, if, does that connect in with this? And let's see, are these characters going to meet up at the end credit scene or stuff? It's one of the things that makes Marvel great. But
absolutely.
I think you're right. This is one of those things where it's like they did everything right, but at the same time they misstepped. It sounds backwards, but it's like they made a great movie, but they didn't do it at the right time, and it's a weird fit for where the universe sits right now. Like here we are, like looking at Loki, looking at what happened to Loki, in the period after like Endgame, like kind of after, like almost during Endgame, this weird like time traveling thing. And then we're looking at WandaVision and what happened to her after Infinity War. Like we're looking at all these characters and all these stories in the TV show, and with Spider-Man coming up, we're going to be looking at what happened after all this stuff. That's my assumption. And then with Doctor Strange, with the
multiverse of madness.
Multiverse of Madness. I think we're going to be looking at like even further into the future. And then we have this Black Widow movie. It's like you said, it feels like a product of a different time that was released. I don't know. It just, you can really feel, even I think this would have been better if it had gotten released in early of last year. I think it would have felt better. It just, it felt even weirder now being a year out and in the middle of these TV shows, which are telling very different story at a very different point of the universe. I mean, the TV shows I think fit pretty well together with the timeline. It's like these things are actually happening in different points of the timeline, but they're all kind of in the Infinity War Endgame era, and it fills in a lot of blank areas that I think could have used more fleshing out. You know, some of the stories I think are a little but for the most part, I think I'm having a lot of fun with them. So
yeah, and it's cool here at the end where you it's the only time you get that Marvel synergy that you're accustomed to, where it's like one movie shaking hands with the other movie, you know, where you have Contessa showing up, where apparently this was supposed to be her first appearance because this was supposed to become before Falcon Winter Soldier. And so when you see her there, you're like, oh, she's back. And so, but it's cool to see them lead into a show, you know, with this whole Hawkeye thing. At least that's what I anticipate, you know, leading into the Hawkeye television show, or Disney Plus show, I should say.
Yeah. How do you feel about her as a character? Yeah.
Not sure yet. I mean, she's doing this, she's doing the thing. She's doing this thing, you know, that I know this character, you know, she's the eccentric kind of
most New Yorker
shadowy character. Yeah. I see this character a lot in animes. It's a very it's a trope that I'm used to. A character that shows up, they have shady intentions, or very just joking about, you know, doing their thing. I don't know what they're up to.
Overwhelming personality.
Yeah, to where it's like you find, I'm always kind of like on the fence about it, because they're always like this. They're doing shady stuff. They're being, you know, they're this big personality, and then you find out their intentions all at the end. You know, it's like you don't know until like a long time, and then you're like, oh, so that's what you were doing. Okay. And it's usually something that is a little underwhelming. And so I don't know. Yet to be determined, I guess. We'll see. She's doing like a Dark Avengers kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if at the end of Shang-Chi, she'll be like, hey, Mr. Abomination, what you doing? Got plans tonight? While she's like eating popcorn or something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I personally just don't like her in this role, like as an actor.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't fit very well for me. I think another actor might have filled it better for me personally, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, quite possibly. There is something to me that does seem like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like kitschy, or just kind of like, I don't know, strange about it. I know what you're saying. I think
it's kind of her comedic style. It just, you know, I've found her funny in some things. It just, I don't know. I think she's more of a comic actor than she is a serious actor, and it feels weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just feels strange.
Yeah, and we're talking about like we joked a lot about this after the movie, about how like how this will lead into Hawkeye. We feel like this is one conversation away from the entire conflict being over, or whatever. This is the person responsible for your sister's death. You know, it's like, no, I'm not. Oh, okay. Well, what happened? This. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no worse trope, especially to base a movie around. It just, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. You know, Marvel time and time again has done things that we think they're going to do, and then they've gone in a completely different direction with it. So
we think it's going to be this awful thing that we're going to hate, and then they'll turn it around or whatever. It really smells like the whole Harry Osborn kind of Spider-Man killed my father kind of thing, you know?
Man.
But
oh man,
hopefully not.
That's just like a late 90s like way to like make a, you know, antagonist protagonist thing.
It's literally that. I didn't kill your father. He killed himself. No, or whatever.
Yep.
Oh boy. But either way, excited for Hawkeye regardless. I hope that does not occur, but well.
Yeah.
Anyways, you got anything else to say before we wrap this puppy up?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I say I don't think so, and then I have something to say. My bad. Sure, yeah.
I do.
I just to just summarize, like I'm glad to see Marvel movies back. I think this is a good movie. This is a solid movie. I think, despite, part of it I think is a forced error, whereas, they could only release when they could release. And I understand, that's limitation that you're faced with. But part of that I think is also their own fault. But overall, it doesn't take away from what the director did, which was make a solid movie that I think did a good job of telling the Black Widow story. So I'm excited, and I think it went really well. I think so far, just to kind of summarize, I think our summer movies are going pretty well. Like,
yeah,
we've had some good summer movies, and the theaters are being more and more attended, at least locally. And, the numbers seem to be fleshing out pretty well for movies. It seems like we're climbing this ladder back to some semblance of normalcy, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. I'm glad that theaters are surviving what was by far the biggest challenge that we've had in our lifetime. I mean, by far, probably got to be close to the biggest challenge theaters have seen maybe since World War II. I wasn't alive back then, but I'm sure that was a huge thing for them to stay alive.
I remember it. It's awful.
Yeah, terrible thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see that.
Absolutely. People seem to be enthused to be in the theater. Yeah, the fullest we've seen. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up, honestly, as far as movies are concerned, and shows, Marvel shows that we're gonna be talking about. I mean, I think we might do like probably a joint kind of review next week, maybe. I know we have Loki and Space Jam New Legacy coming out, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Looking forward to it.
We only have one more episode of Loki, is that right?
Yeah, this tomorrow, we're recording this on Tuesday, and so yeah, tomorrow, Wednesday, is the last episode of the season. Yeah, or series. I don't know what they're gonna do. But anywho, yeah, we'll talk all about this stuff in the next coming weeks. We'll see you guys then.
That's right. We'll be there.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
The recording has